So we're going to chapter 17, barriers to communication in business. When we talk about barriers, we're talking about problems encountered problems that stops effective communication. That's what barriers are. Do you understand? Problems that stops communication to be effective. So we'll go down. Communication is only effective if the receiver understands the message sent. These are things that get in the way of good communication are called communication barriers. Some examples are given. So whatever that hinders effective communication, we call it barriers. I think it's clear. So one of the problems that encountered that causes barriers in communication is lack of clarity. When I talk about lack of clarity, if a message is not clear, it may be misunderstood or ignored. Unclear communication may be the result of poorly written or poorly expressed messages. So here, what they are saying is that when the message is not clear, you will misinterpret it, or you will do what you are not supposed to do. The message is not clear. You won't understand the message because it's not clear. So a message might not be clear if it is written in a way that the writing is not clear, or in the course of you speaking to someone, the person doesn't get the message clearly. So that means the message might be misunderstood or ignored because I don't understand what you're saying, and I find it difficult to express myself, to make you understand that I don't understand what you are saying. I will just ignore it. Do you understand? So if a message is not clear, the receiver might ignore or misunderstood it. That is lack of clarity. I think it's clear. So when messages are unclear or misunderstood, then it is not effective, because effective communication comes when the sender and the receiver are able to communicate efficiently and effectively without any hindrance. Then I was able to pass the message, you're able to understand the message, and you gave feedback. That is effective communication. But feedback will not be given if the message is not clear. That's one. The second one, technological breakdown. A lot of business communication is done electronically. If technology is faulty, communication may become unclear or break down. So it's communication. It needs electronic movement. So if the technology used is faulty, that means there's lack of clarity. That's another problem there. Do you get it? So the third problem is about poor communication skills. When we talk about poor communication skills, we're talking about people not having that charisma, that expertise to pass message across. Do you get it? So here it says some people may have poor communication skills. Here are some examples. When communicating verbally, some people may have a limited vocabulary or may not be able to make themselves understood.
Yeah, technology breakdown.
I did it already. Technological breakdown means the technology used is faulty. If the technology used, it's electronic. If the technology used, if the phone is faulty, you won't be hearing the message clearly. We talked about it already. So for poor communication skills, we're talking about the expertise, the know-how on how to communicate with people. So the first one is about when communicating verbally. When you're communicating verbally, like I am doing right now, if I don't have the vocabulary, if I don't have the ability to make my statements, my information be understood, then there's poor communication. So that means whatever I have to say it in a way you understand. Do you get it? That verbally. Two, some people may be poor listeners and may switch off during we've talked about communication verbally. So the part about communicating verbally is that you need the skills to be able to dispatch this information. I think the point is clear. The second one, some people may be poor listeners and may switch off during communication process. They may not be able to concentrate for short periods, or may be too impatient. Some employees at meetings do not have the will to participate actively. They may daydream, distract themselves with their smartphones, perhaps, or even fall asleep. This is more likely to happen when meetings are attended by large numbers of staff. So another problem about people that are poor listeners, they don't have that patience to listen, or they get distracted with their smartphone. So there's no effectiveness in communication if that is happening. Do you get it? Do you get it? The third one, Written messages may contain poor spelling or weak grammar, errors that can make a message appear untrustworthy. Some messages might be completely ignored if they are poorly written. For example, a poorly written deal for a contract may be simply deleted. Some types of written messages may be too long. If a business report is too long, for example, the reader may overlook some of the important issues. The third problem about written skills or written communication is that when you write, your spellings were wrong. The words used do not correlate with the meaning. So I will misunderstand it or ignore it. Sometimes people write in the writing that is not clear. Even in exams, students fail exams because they don't write clearly. Some students might fail exams because they don't write clearly. The examiner doesn't understand what they wrote. Do you get the point or not?
Yes.
It's a written message, and when you use weak grammar or you write it, maybe it's written with hand and the writing is not clear. If the writing is not clear, then I might misunderstand what you wrote. Or if I find it difficult to even read, then I ignore it. So sometimes students do fail exams, not because they are not intelligent or they don't understand what the question was, but for the fact that they don't write clearly. The examiners might not, have the patience to, to check through, or the examiner finds it difficult to understand the points the writer or the student is writing. Just the same as anyone. If you are writing in a manner that is not clear to me, or if I'm writing in a manner that is not clear to you, you might ignore it. And when you ignore or when you misunderstood it, it is not effective, because effective communication means sending, receiving feedback. But because you've written in a way that I can't even spell, I won't be able to understand, or I will misinterpret it. That's another reason for written communication skill, poor written communication skills. Then the last one here, sending messages in anger is an example of poor communication and can act as a barrier. For example, an angry person at the end of a phone line may be ignored. Switching off the phone may be a natural reaction to an angry caller. The use of threatening messages may also act as a barrier. People often act very negatively to threats. For example, sending a threatening message to a customer asking for payment is likely to result in a further delay. The customer may avoid paying as a response to the unpleasant message they have received. So when you send message, you don't send message when you are angry, because when you send message when you are angry, you might be saying, or you might be typing, you might be passing information that is not going to be palatable for the hearers. So the receiver might ignore it or might act against that. Do you understand? You don't get it. You might be angry, and maybe you have to send a message to your customer who has not paid for a due invoice. So you're angry because your customer hasn't paid for the invoice. Then you send a message to the customer because you sent it when you were angry. So when the message gets to the customer might see the narrative as being, being a threat. You are threatening him or her, or he or she felt that the message was too harsh on him or her. As a result, might retaliate against that, might not even want to pay you. Like, oh, go do your worst. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you are angry, it's better not to even send a message, so that the receiver would not see it as a threat. Is it clear? So that's another reasons why communication can have a barrier. Then the next one is jargon. When you talk about jargon, sometimes people use jargon. Other people use jargon when communicating. Jargon is a vocabulary that is used and understood by people in a specific group. However, outside that group, it may be meaningless. So when you talk about jargon, it means you are saying things I don't understand. Maybe I'm speaking my language to teach you. It will be like, what is he saying? That's a jargon. It stops communication. Do you get the point there? Then the next one is distraction. So we'll go to distractions. When we talk about distractions, communication may break down if there are distractions in the communication process. An obvious distraction is noise. That's a problem. Sometimes when you have to communicate, even while teachers are teaching, that's one of the problems teachers do have, especially for me. When I'm teaching you in the class and you continue to make noise, students make noise, it breaks communication. Do you get the point there?
Yes.
Do you understand what distraction is about here?
Yes.
You know, it's communication. And when we talk about communication, it needs a free flow of information. You have to be attentive. I have to be focused too, so that I can pass the right message across. But if there are noises around, people are making noise around, then it distracts me. So that's why sometimes as a teacher, for me, when I'm teaching in class, I don't like it when students make noise. Because when you make noise, it does not only distract me, it also doesn't allow the other students to focus. Do you understand that? So that's the point there. So the next one, business culture. Are you there? For business culture, it says some businesses may develop a culture of poor communication. This can be quite a serious issue, and of course, when there is general lack of communication throughout the whole organization. If a business fails to keep its employees fully informed of important events, it can lead to doubt and uncertainty. This may result into rumors, gossip, suspicion, and anger. This is still negative and encourages the mentality in which staff become isolated and fail to share information with colleagues. Business culture. If within your organization, there is lack of information, people do not get information as at when due. People do not get information regularly regarding what their jobs are. Then they feel reluctant. They feel curious about it. They're not happy. So as a result of that, everybody keeps information to themselves. So nobody wants to tell anybody anything. It brings about rumors, gossips, and the rest, suspicion, because they are not getting information. So everybody keep information to themselves. So that is poor communication. I think it's clear. The next one is long chain of command. If there are too many layers of management in the organization, the chain of command will be longer. This means messages take longer to pass through the chain and may become unclear or inaccurate on the way. This is more likely to happen in large organizations where thousands of staff are employed. When you talk about long chain of command, that means you have so many layers of hierarchy. So there are a lot of managers. And when there are a lot of managers, whenever information have to be passed, when it's going to get to you, some items might be missing. The next person is going to get to, or the next department is going to get to, another item might be missing. Something might be missing or be added. Do you understand? So when the chain of command is long, we have a lot of managers, you have a lot of hierarchy, communication becomes difficult to flow. Do you understand? The next one, using the wrong medium. There are different mediums of communication. You have television, we have radio. You have to understand the right medium to use. I need to ask questions about a lesson with you. Then I'm sending an email when you might not even see it. Why can't I just call you? I need a response right now. I need the feedback about something right now. I should call, not an email. Do you understand? So you have to understand when to use each medium. That is also important. Is it clear? Right. That's the next one. We move on, please. Barriers to communication. Okay. Just go down to different countries. Yes, there are points there. No, it's still about using the right medium. Confidential information. What do you use for confidential information? Personal. It's confidential. You need private. It's private. So you don't allow other people to get involved. So you might make a call, or probably you need to find maybe a letter that is secured. You need to find a way that other people will not get information. For sensitive information such as staff disciplinary matter should be communicated face-to-face. There's information to your staff. You have to see the staff and talk to him or her immediately. Some information such as job offer. This is a letter. You send a letter. If immediate feedback is required, you see me one-on-one. Standard information is best communicated using forms. For standard information that you need information about people, about their age, their gender, their religion, you need to fill a form, not question like face-to-face. You might be missing out on some information. You get it? When there is complex and detailed information, the best way is to report it. Is it clear? So different countries, languages, and culture. This is another problem. Different countries. So I'm in Nigeria, you are here, and I need to speak with you. I need to speak with you the time you are awake. Or maybe you need to communicate with someone in America. So you have different time zone. So that can also hinder communication. Do you get it? Language also. If we don't speak the same language, it becomes difficult for you to understand.
For now, it's not. It's not really difficult
Why?
because Google Translate
Google Translate. But when you are communicating,
communicating.
like immediate feedback, no, still a barrier. I think you get that. So the problems of ineffective communication. So what are the problems? They said ineffective communication in business can result in expensive problems. High staff turnover, more staff absences, poor customer services, more work-related injuries, difficulties making changes, higher legal cost, and lower profit are all possible examples. If communication is ineffective, your workers will not be happy. As a result, they might leave the job. Your customers won't be happy because you are unable to give them the right information. As a result, they won't buy from you. Your profit will fall. Your reputation, the reputation of your business might fall. Workers might get injured because you're not giving them the right information about safety. So these are the problems. I think it's clear.
Yeah.
That's about the problems of ineffective communication. So here it's just about this US, so we don't need that. But what you have to understand that if there's ineffective communication, if communication is not effective, it affects your workforce, it affects your business, it affects your customers, it affects your profits. I think it's clear. So we go down. So how can barriers to communication be removed? How can we stop barriers? How can we stop ineffective communication? How can we solve the problem? One, recruitment. Business should recruit staff with good communication skills. So whenever you are employing to your organization, that's why you have interviews, you have tests, you have oral interview, you have verbal interview. Why do you have all these interviews? You have them because you want to know the communication skills. You want to know the level of the workers you're going to employ. So businesses should employ workers with good communication skills. That would stop the problem of communication, effective communication. That's number one. Two, training. Training improves your skills. So businesses should try to train their workers on how to be effective when it comes to communication, training. The third one, written communication. One way to removing the barriers created by poorly written communication is to provide standard company letters, which can be used by all staff. Templates can be sorted easily in IT systems for letters to customers, suppliers, and other regular receivers. The business might also use forms to gather information. This helps to present written information in a structured and clear way. Forms will also prevent employees from including written information that is not required. Written communication. Make templates, standardized one. So if anybody wants to use it, they don't have to use their own idea anymore. Let there be templates for your customers. Let there be templates for your workers. Let there be templates for whatever you do in your organization that needs information to be passed across. Make templates for them. So it is standard. So you just have to change the name and the rest. So there won't be communication problem there. Do you get the point? Technology. If communication barriers result from faulty technology, business may have to repair or replace equipment. So if the problem about technology is the use of the communication skills, the communication medium. So that's about technology. Then we go to chain of command. So because you are using a long chain of command, try to delay, reduce the chain of command. You have 10 managers, reduce them to maybe 5 or 6 managers. So communication will become better. You get that? Social events. Internal communication may improve if social events are organized for staff. This provides opportunity for workers from different departments to come together, which may be helpful. Getting to know your colleagues at social events might help people to bond and develop working relationships, and thus help to improve communication. Another way to improve communication in the workplace is to have social gathering, dinners together. So when you have these things together, they relate, and that could bring a bond within them. Do you get it? Culture of change. So if a business has a culture of poor communication, it will be important to make changes. A business might need to introduce some formal communication systems. It might need to remove physical barriers such as partition between workstations, provide larger and more open workspaces, end the separation of workers according to the job status, and perhaps introduce an open door policy to which staff are encouraged to communicate with their seniors. A business must also avoid withholding important information and encourage upward communication, like from the subordinates to the manager, not always the manager to the subordinates. Generally, business will need to work towards climate of openness and trust. Do you get the information here? You get it or not? No, I'm going to explain now. For culture of change, what they're saying is the organization is used to not to not dispatching information that are important to workers. Yes or no? So that is poor communication. But now you have to change that culture because it's not working. It's ineffective. So what do you have to do as a business? You try to end separation between workers and the subordinates and the managers. Encourage upward communication, not always downward communication. So let subordinates free to say their mind. Use open space offices, not closed space offices, closed space. Open space office means that everywhere is opened. We can see each other, we can communicate, not that there's a blockage between us. Do you understand? Yes. So this will end separation between the seniors and the juniors. So everybody will feel free to express themselves. So that will bring about culture of change. The culture is that there's ineffective communication, which has to be changed for effective communication to occur. So whatever is the barrier, take it away. Be open. Let subordinates be able to talk, even to the superiors, by allowing upward communication. That will bring about culture of change. I think it's clear. So go to the multiple choice questions. The first one, it said, which of the following is the most appropriate method of communication for requesting an urgent delivery of components? An urgent delivery of components. It's urgent.
Hey, business people.
No, urgent. They say it's urgent. Telephone call. Telephone is urgent. It's urgent. That means it has to be treated as soon as now. The best way is to make a call. The second one, which of the following communication needs to be supported with a document? You need to support this communication with documents.
See, job offer.
A job offer. Thank you. A job offer. That's cool. Question 3. Which of the following is most likely to be a barrier to communication? A barrier to communication.
B.
The use of jargon. Great. The use of jargon, it's a barrier to communication. The fourth one, a business with a flatter organization will experience what? A flatter organization will experience what?
Things.
When it is flatter, that means there's a short chain of command. It's not a long chain. A long chain is tall.
Hey. No.
A flatter.
Okay. Difficult. 3. A D.
No. It's quicker communication through the chain of command. If it is flat, communication will be faster. If it is flat, there won't be poor communication among workers. If it is flat,
yes,
there won't be difficulties in training staff. So it is quicker communication through the chain of command, because if it's a flat, it's not a long one. A long chain of command has a lot of managers.
Oh, I understand.
So make it a short chain. Managers with one manager, you have span of control. That means one manager with many subordinates. So when you have many subordinates, that means you just have to communicate with them. All the subordinates listens to you. Not like there are different managers across the organization. So a short chain of command is the way to solve a problem of long chain command. By delayering, you reduce the numbers of hierarchy within the organization. Is it clear? Yes. So that ends barriers to communication, I think, right? Okay. It doesn't finish. I have to upload. I have to do all these things too. This one.